Very good morning from Switzerland, from the broncolor headquarters photo studio. And my name is Recher, and today, luckily, I'm not alone. I have with me Axel, the product manager here at broncolor. And we have the pleasure today to talk to you about the Satos power packs and the Pulso L lamphead. Before we do so, just let me give you an overview about what's going to happen today. So first of all, I will cover the basics of basically the power packs. Then Axel will take over talking about the dual power management. And then we go back to more basics, but something like next level basics. Okay, so what's actually the crazy features about these power packs? At that moment, you have a first opportunity to ask questions. For this, please use on the right side of your window. You have a chat there. You can answer. You can ask your questions. We have two colleagues nearby that will moderate these questions for us and pass on to us whatever you would like to know. However, just to know what's going to happen or what will be explained after this first session of questions, Axel will take care on a precise explanation of the interface, so actually how you operate with the pack, how you change the power, how you dive deep into the menu. Then we go back with me. I will talk about the lamphead, because actually the Satos power pack and the Pulso L are kind of a family. They work and communicate together very, very nicely. I will talk about this. I will talk about compatibility, which means can you actually use the new power pack with old lampheads and with all the special lamphead like Pico light, ring flashes, and so on. And does it make sense to use one of the new lights, the Pulso L, with older power pack equipment? So this will be covered as well. Last but not least, I hand back again to Axel, and he will cover all the numbers. Let's say starting at the weight, at the dimensions, the length of the cable, and of course, another point of interest is the pricing. All right, so that's what's happening today. And as promised, let me talk about the basics first. So we have here two power packs. This is the Satos 3200 joules with, let me turn this around, with 4 power slots. So you can, Axel will cover this, you can work with any combinations of battery and or power supply units here. And the demos, however, on the software we will do with the small one, which is the 1600 unit on this side. What you already can see is that I have 3 lampheads connected to Pulso L and already an additional light, which is in this situation actually a Pulso G head. So this is already a preview for later on. Yes, it is compatible with older lampheads. Right, and the Pulso L lamphead just next to me. Okay, so you have seen the physical size. Now have a look at some slides with some information about it. So the big one, the 3200 power pack, is obviously 3200 joules, and it has 3 asymmetrical outlets. The power range is over a crazy 11 f-stops. This means all the way from 3200 joules down to just a little more than 1 joule. So we have a factor of 1500 power-wise from the smallest or from the weakest flash to the strongest flash. And this is really crazy what actually the development made, especially as well on the flash tube side, because all this from 1.5 joule all the way up to 3200 joules is all taken care of very precisely with the same flash tube. The entire power range, as you know it already from broncolor, the entire power range is color corrected. And very important change already now compared to, let's say, a Scoro power pack is that the entire power range can be used as asymmetry. So it's not only that the power range is color corrected, but you can have one light on a very high power and the other one on a very low power. So almost like 11 f-stops in between, and both outlets are actually color corrected. So that's a big improvement, let's say, already compared to our Scoro packs. We obviously have very short flash durations. We will cover this later on when we talk about technical data, and a speed function as well, already known from the SCORO power packs. Then the small one, the 1600 joules, pretty much same, 1 f-stop less, three asymmetrical outlets, power range over 10 f-stops, so not 11 like the big one, but let's say just 10 still enough. So they both start at 1.5 joules. Then the small one, the 1600, goes up to 1600 joules, while the 3200 goes all the way up to 3200 joules. So they have both the same minimum power. As well, color corrected over the entire range, including asymmetry, very short flash duration, and recycling time. And as well, of course, the software is the same. So this means we have as well a speed function. Now, having increased the power range from 10 f-stops on a SCORO pack to 11 f-stops on a Satos 3200, we had to think about the indication or how we communicate the power setting. Because on all broncolor units so far, max power was always on 10. But then, let's say, if you go 11 f-stops down from 10, you're ending up at the aperture or at power -1, which is kind of silly. It sounds like negative light, which would, of course, be a dream sometimes for contrast control if you had negative light, but we do not have negative light. So that's why we change the color indication. And this means that the 3200 pack goes now all the way up to power 13. The 1600 goes all the way up to 12. And we defined 400 joules as the new setting 10. So there is like a power bridge, if you want to call it so, at power 10. All the units have 400 joules. This means if you choose the same power number on the large and on the small Satos, they actually have the same. With earlier units, like say with the Zeros, with I don't know, with SCORO power packs, you always had to calculate ±1, which is of course still possible. But with the Satos, if you have here 7.7 and here 7.7, it's actually joule-wise exactly the same amount of light. So there's no calculation needed, no more ±1. Okay, so that's new. And just before I hand over to Axel with the dual power management, two important points to understand about the broncolor range. Satos and Pulso L are not replacing any current products. They only extend the broncolor product range. So yeah, it's not that the SCORO and the Pulso, the beautiful Pulso G heads, are kicked out of the range immediately. They are still available, and Satos and Pulso L, they just give you many more options. Right, okay. These were the basics. Now I would like to hand back to Axel, taking care on the explanation about the dual power management.
Yeah, thank you, Urs. Hello, everybody. My name is Axel Schmidt. I'm product manager here at broncolor. Thank you for your interest in this webinar. It's great to have you with us today. Over the past 5 years, broncolor have worked hard to bring to life the most advanced lighting system we have ever built. The Satos Power Pack and the Pulso L lamp are truly innovative products. The system boasts ultimate ease of use, unprecedented light control, the highest level of efficiency and convenience, and last but not least, dual power management. So let's have a look at the dual power management. Flexibility was a development goal from the very beginning. Dual power management means you can work in the studio or on location with the very same power pack thanks to the slide-in power elements. And these elements are the slide-in power supply or the slide-in battery. And you can configure your Satos according to the specific job. That's the beauty. So the small Satos 1600, it can accept either 2 batteries or 1 power supply and 1 battery. And for the larger unit, the Satos 3200, our recommendation would be either use 4 batteries. That's ideal for on-location work, or if you need the fastest possible recycling times, or you can equip it with 1 power supply and 3 batteries, or just 2 power supplies and 2 batteries. Just keep in mind the left slots are for power supplies or batteries, while the right slots, they can accept only batteries. So there's a mechanical coding. You cannot mix it up. Okay, let's move to the next slide. You might ask, batteries in the studio, why? So basically, the batteries, they compensate for voltage fluctuations. Lower voltage regions benefit from significantly shorter flash recycling times. And the batteries charge the capacitors faster than from mains. The power supply, on the other hand, is great at continuously powering the LED modeling light and to recharge the batteries. Okay, let's hand over to Urs again. Switch to mains camera.
All right, so let me check. Exactly. So I covered some of the basics before, and now I would like to go to the next level basics. And for this, another slide. We have, with Satos, we have a new flash curve. On Zeros lamp heads, if you work with short shutter speed on the camera, we have a function that enables, that allows you to do this, and this function is called HS. Now HS becomes actually HSS, okay? What does this mean? HSS means that we have, that's the most important change, we have a rectangular flash curve. So in almost no time, we reach a max on the flash curve, and then the light output during the flash duration remains constant, and then we have a very steep dropping at the very end. This has several positive effects on our photography. Number one, we do not have, let's say, a peak at the beginning with more light and a slightly more bluer light, and then the light intensity drops down, the light becomes neutral and reddish at the end. So the benefit is that we have a constant light output and a constant color temperature as well throughout the flash. This means if we use very short shutter speeds on the camera, let's say with these curtain shutters, we are actually scanning our photographs. So we are firing the flash a little early. This is taken care of by the RFS 2.2 triggers. So we fire the flash, and then we actually scan our photograph. Okay, and during this scanning process, the light output is even, so we have the same amount of light at the beginning of our scanning and at the end of our scanning, and the color remains constant as well. So we can say that we get something like extremely short time but continuous light. It's like switching off a very powerful continuous light source during it's about the 200th of a second, just long enough to expose the first pixel and the last pixel on our chip. But during the flash time, it's constant light regarding power and color. So that's a very, very important change. And for those that care about technical data, there's actually almost no difference anymore between TO1 and TO5, because on both sides we have the very, very steep beginning of the flash and the very harsh end of the flash curve. So this means TO1 is almost the same like TO5. Then we have sequence, we have interval, delay, we have color corrections, and alternate function, not implemented, but alternate will come very soon, but all the other functions are already implemented. Now, why is this next level basics? Because we have sequence, interval, delay, color corrections, we have this already, let's say, on a score power pack. And the key point is that this is now possible per channel. Okay, so let's say we have a setup, and maybe we use one of the diffusers I have back there in the studio. I don't really trust this material anymore, or it's very old, it's in the sun, and it turns slightly yellowish after over the years. So what I can do, I can actually correct just the color temperature of this one light going through the diffuser. until now, this was only possible per power pack. So I could change the color of an entire Scoro, okay, to become a little bit more bluish or reddish. But now I can do this per channel, and this is just a different level of light control. The same happens with interval, with delay, and with the sequence. So I can, let's say, delay just the 3 outlets. Let's say every outlet is delayed by just 100 of a second, for an example. This means that in 200 of a second, I get 3 flashes on whatever power I need. Okay, so it's just, yeah, all the functions we love from the Scoro per pack are now accessible per channel, and that's that's for me a really, really big change in my daily work here in the studio. Okay, so I really get very excited about this. Okay, good. So these were next level basics, and now let me check on the questions, if there are already some questions coming in. I see one. Could the new Pulso L heads be used with the older Scoro and graphite packs? Okay, we will cover compatibility right after the talk about the Pulso L lamp heads. Short answer, yes, but. Okay, it can be used, but maybe it's not the best backwards compatibility. What we do recommend is to have the new packs and to work with old lamp heads like Picolights or the special lamp heads, Picolight, ring flash, and so on and so on. However, all the benefits we will learn later on about of the Pulso L lamp base, if you work with this lamp head and then on a Scoro power pack, most of the benefits are actually lost. Okay, so yes, it is possible, it does flash, but for example, there's no modeling light, there's no bidirectional communication, and so on and so on. But we will cover this more carefully later on. Okay, good. This was it. Just one question for now, which means we continue now with the user interface explained by Axel. However, if you think about the question later on today, and at the very end of the session, we will again take the time to answer all your questions about Satos and Pulso L. Okay, thanks.
Okay, let's explore the user interface then. Here we go. So here you see a nice shot of the operating panel. And all the functions, basically, you can adjust via the touch display and or via the physical buttons. And of course, there's also the very prominently in the picture, the round encoder knob. So there is a beautiful 5.7-inch multi-touch display with an extremely robust and scratch-resistant cover glass with excellent readability and contrast. And the encoder is especially useful for precise numerical input. And the LED ring that you see here nicely lit up in blue, it's actually a visual recycling indicator. And the buttons provide good haptical feedback and are handy when working with gloves in cold conditions. The user interface has been developed from the very beginning with usability experts from Germany. And as you can see, the result is clean, intuitive, consistent, meaning like the same behavior on the pack as on the lamp. And it allows for personal preferences. That means Satos adapts to your preferred way of operating the device. So you don't have to use the touch. You can use any combination of encoder, touch, or the physical buttons. So let's see this in action. I switch the camera. Okay. So we tried to have a very clean and minimalistic view here. So basically the logic is lamp channel 1, lamp channel 2, lamp channel 3. And here is the master bar controlling all channels at the same time. Here, this little number is the channel number up here. And the 2-digit number here is the lamp address in the top right corner here. Then we have the info line up here with important icons. This would be the studio address, shows you that cell is switched on currently, and the RFS. You get some energy management icons here. And of course, the most relevant for the daily work with the pack is here the flash power. And right underneath, you have the flash duration. And down here is the flash recycling indicator. And then you can activate or deactivate each channel with this icon, or switch on the modeling light. And with the physical buttons, you can do the very same. I can quickly show you. Like you can activate one channel, then the color turns up in blue, and then you're ready to adjust the flash energy. Just press OK. Or you can do a long press, and then you deactivate this channel if you, for the moment, don't want to work with this specific channel. Okay, and then wake it up again. Then you can, of course, use the up and down arrows here, for very precise inputs. You know, it's one short press is a tenth of an increment, and the long press gives you just the full increment, full stop. Okay, and then you might have noticed here the master bar. So let's select all of them, and then you see that it's a nice visual aid here, and the master bar moves up and down. And then if we decided to adjust, let's use for the moment the focus frame. Here you see the black focus frame, the blue frame, and then let's select flash energy of channel 3. And then you see it extends, and that's a really nice feature to show you visually the remaining headroom here for the flash energy. Nice feature. It shows you just the accumulated flash energy. Okay. Then what else do we got here? The test button to trigger the test flash, modeling light button, short press on and off, and long press would go to full modeling light, gives you maximum intensity. And then if you tap it again, it would fall back to the selected modeling light setting, like low, full, or proportional. Then this little cutout here, it contains the optical cell for triggering the flash by means of light impulse. Here is the already mentioned encoder knob. And here's the visual recycling indicator. And then at last, we have here the toggle switch. It just cycles through, it shows you, it switches back and forth from main menu to submenu. And that's a good keyword. So let's have a look at the submenu then here. So the first 3 elements here, that's what we from now on call timing functions, our special functions. Alternate, delay, and sequence are timing functions. And for the time being, alternate is not yet provided. We work hard on it to make it available soon. There's a Wi-Fi module inbuilt, and this means you can also use it very soon together with the broncolor app. So let's have a look at delay. And here you could set different delays per channel, or of course you could also set the same delay value for all channels, and then you can leave the menu here on the arrow. Once more, go here to the main menu, and then you see it here. That's the line where we display the active settings, the timing functions. So, and of course, alternate would be here. Then in the middle, we have delay, and sequence would be on the right one. So it's always in the same position. And the beauty is, it's a shortcut. So you can jump back in, do a reset, and leave the menu, and you have a clean screen again. So again, we try to have everything that you need for your daily work in a very simple fashion here available. Okay, then sequence. You can set several sequences here, again, per channel. That's the beauty. And adjust the preferred interval, of course. Yeah. Then, maybe more interesting, you got the flash settings here. And another highlight here is it's, again, available per channel. Let's see what we got here. So we have default would be flash opt for optimal flash color temperature. And then you can adjust from just -300 all the way up to +800 Kelvin. So that's your manual adjustment range. And then you have also here T01 min for shortest recycling time. But then you have to accept a little bit bluish color here. Okay. And then at opt plus 300, that equals speed. That's the known speed function. And then at the other end of the scale, we have the high speed sync option. And then, by the way, you can always trigger the reset by means of this little arrow here. And we have a inbuilt context search. So that's really nice. So if you're a bit unsure and when you're exploring the device for the first time, just use this little inbuilt help for additional information. Okay, then sync, that's obviously something you would do before the shooting when you set it up. Like you can switch the radio frequency system on or off. Here you have the indicator which channel you are in. And then for cell, you just have the options cell sensitivity high, low, or switch off. Okay. Then here, studio setup, you can set individual lamp addresses from 1 to 40, and you have a choice of 99 studio addresses. And the lamp addresses would be used just to form groups of lights, and also especially when working with Broncontrol app. Okay, then as for the modeling light, there is a choice of full modeling light, low, or proportional. And for the modeling light color, it's just a preset of tungsten and daylight. Okay. And then the lighting mode. That's really a nice feature. So internally, we like it very much. Not only can you work on one channel or several channels with flash, but you can also go on continuous light on all of them, or you can freely mix it. And I'll show you quickly how this looks on the home screen then. Then if one channel is set to continuous light, then the font color changes to a light green here, and then you are in full control of adjusting the modeling light color temperature in steps of 50 from 2800 to 6800 K, and you can adjust from -25 to +25 the green magenta setting. Okay. Let's quickly do a reset here. And then last but not least, we have here a nice window called Power Info that shows you the average battery level and the remaining number of flashes. And actually if the logo or pictogram here is blue, it actually shows you what is currently inserted, and white means this could also be fitted into the slot. Okay. I think that's it for the moment, and I will hand over to Urs again.
And just have a look at them, please. We answered them at the end. There were already some questions coming in. I just asked Axel to have a quick look at them so that at the end of the session we are actually ready to answer all those. So Axel already talked a little bit about continuous light, modeling light. So I guess it's time to have a close look at the Pulso L lamphead. First of all, again, I will cover the basics, matte protecting glass, and there are no variants regarding the protecting glass. It's always coated, so it actually takes the color temperature down from 6,000 plus Kelvin to 5,500 Kelvin, so it's coated, and it's matte. We already had some questions. Why do you choose a matte protecting glass? And my personal opinion is that a matte protecting glass is never wrong. Okay. Let's say historically seen, from a clear protecting glass, you get a little bit more power out. But there are light shapers, like aggressive light shapers, for example, like a PAR reflector, or in earlier days, the satellites, or optical systems like the Fluter or any Fresnel lights. They actually require a matte protecting glass because we need a even light source in the middle. So The matte protecting glass is always right, and here additionally we need it because we have, as a modeling light, you will see later on close-up photographs of the modeling light, which is a LED module. And the different LEDs on this module, they have different light angles. So the different colors, let's say magenta, green, warm white, cold white, they all have different light angles. And of course, this would look a little strange if you have it on a background or as well on the model. So we actually use the matte protecting glass to mix all the, I guess, something like 50 LEDs here on the module. Okay, so just one protecting glass, one flash tube. It's the same flash tube, by the way, as we use in the Pulsar G and in the Unilight. So there are no modifications on the flash tube. It's the same. Right. Did I forget something? So matte protecting glass, no variants. Yes, exactly. Metallic ring. So it's still possible, but it's very much safer to put it on and to take it off because the mounting here is actually metallic ring, and it's of course protecting the glass, the protecting glass a lot. Very easy to put it back on. The flash tube, it's the same no, it's not the same. There are two flash tubes for 1600 and 3200 joules. And we obviously have this light as well equipped with multi-voltage, so you can use any voltage from 100 volts all the way up to 230 volts. It's a robust metallic housing, and it has a broncolor bayonet to use all our beautiful light shapers. Right, so first talk about the modeling light. We have 90 watts, but 90 watts LED. This corresponds to about 300 watts tungsten. So it's pretty much the same amount of modeling light you can expect from our LED. But as Axel already showed you, you can actually change it in the power pack if you would like to work as you're used to it from the tungsten lights with a color temperature of around 3000 Kelvin, or if you would like to have daylight balanced modeling light as well. This is just a personal taste. We offer both, and you change it inside the power pack. We have a CRI or a TLCI, which is nothing else than CRI is color rendering index. So how accurate is the light to reproduce any colors? And there we are very high with a 97 plus. On daylight, we even reached a 98 plus. So it's very high light quality, not only on the flash, but as well in the continuous light. It's flicker free. Obviously, it has a ER protecting filter. You can't see it here on the photograph. It's just a little glass positioned in front of the LED, because at the moment of the flash, that the flash curve emits a lot of visible light, obviously, but unfortunately as well some light in the infrared spectrum. And this the infrared spectrum is nothing else than heat, which we actually don't need to photograph. But there's a lot of heat produced, and we need to protect the LED module from this heat. That's why there is a very efficient heat infrared protecting filter in front of these LEDs. The fan is adaptive, which means you have only a cooling when it's actually needed. And when you're not firing or when the modeling light is not on, it's actually more quiet in the studio than you're used to it. Right, what else do we have? The flash tube and the LED module, both, of course, is focusable. So let me show this quickly here on this different camera angle. So here with this option here, I have the possibility to focus and defocus the lamp head. It's the entire system that moves. So it's the LED together with the flash tube that moves forward and backward. It moves by about 15 millimeters. That's a little less than we have in the Pulsar G, but absolutely sufficient if you use it in open reflectors. I mean, if you use it in a softbox or in a para, there I don't really care about the focusing, but if you work very precisely with open reflectors, P70, P65, and so on, and you would like to fine-tune your gradations, that's why you still have here this focusability integrated in the Pulsar L lamphead. Right. But there is not only a modeling light. We can, as explained by Axel, we can as well put the entire system into continuous light mode. I have to show this as well. So again, we do not have more power. We as well have 90 watts in continuous light mode, so the same amount of light like in modeling light mode. We have a power range of 4 f-stops. This corresponds to 5.5 all the way up to 90 watts. And we have an extended color temperature range. So not only the choice between daylight and tungsten, but we can go all the way from 2800 Kelvin to 6800 Kelvin. We have a green magenta correction. This as well is not available or not accessible in the modeling light mode or in the flash mode, but in the continuous light mode, we integrated this. Like the modeling light, obviously, we reach a CRI or TLCI of more than 97. So for those that know our product, the LED F160, it has pretty much the same features, but it's a little less power because the only reason why this LED has less power is a heat product, is a heat problem. Okay, so additionally we have the flash tube, so we had to take down the power of the LED a little bit to be able to manage the heat system inside the lamp. That's why in the end we have something like a LED F90, but with a flash tube. Okay, and that's really a deal I accept very, very happily. Right. Okay. So in the end, we have a hybrid lighting system. It can be used in continuous light mode and or flash tube, so flash mode. So actually you can combine at the same time continuous light and flash from one power pack, which means if you do something like I don't know, something moves in front of the camera, a dance, or I don't know, a still life moves, so you can use 1 or 2 lights with continuous light to show the drag of the movement, and then at the end you can as well, from the same unit, you can flash and create sharp parts of the photograph as well. So there's no need, let's say, to have HMI or to have an extra LED. No, it's all coming from the same power pack. If the display is indicating something in blue, this means these are information about in flash mode. However, if it's green, it's in continuous light mode. And we really want to have this clear difference between the colors, because obviously when you're in continuous light mode, it's not flashing. And this, as a photographer, can make you very nervous. You press the button, synchro is on, and it's not flashing. So we very clearly communicate, hey, this entire power pack or these 2 lamps are in continuous light mode, they are not flashing, right? So that's why we really chose this very clear and different color. All right, let's have a look at the bidirectional communication. I will show this in a minute live on the lamphead, but just the PowerPoint slide before. So on the lamphead, we can choose the power. So there is no more following the cable to find out which lamp is connected to which outlet. No, you do it directly on the lamphead itself. You can change the flash mode, so it's not the lighting mode, it's the flash mode, which means is it tier 1 minimum, is it tier 1 optimum, is it HSS? So you can choose this as well directly on the lamphead, as well as the modeling light level, if it's on or off, or on or off, high or proportional. You can, for the first time, we have a test button integrated directly on the lamphead, which means you can fire this light directly on the lamphead. And the difference to this test button and the test button on the power pack is that if you press here on the lamphead, only this lamphead actually fires a flash. So it's not communicating back and makes all the setup firing. Well, at least if you have switched off the cells on your other units. So this is very convenient for those that want to measure the light output light by light, because you don't have to activate and deactivate the channels all the time. So if you press here, test button, only this lamp fires. Then in the menu, I think it does make sense that I explain this here. We have in the menu, we have the timing and many different things, but I think it makes much more sense actually to see this live. So let me put this in the right position. It's connected to the Satos, so I just switch it on. And then the most important thing, like what you have seen with Axel already, we can move the focus frame around. If I go to the power, I press it. Now it's blue. I hope you can see the colors, and I can change the power here. And this is instantly communicated back to the power pack. So as I said before, so I don't have to go from the lamp head back to the power pack and following the cable to if I want to have control over the power on this one, I do it directly on the pack. To avoid any unwanted movements later on, let's say I wanted to have this 5.0, I just press it again, so I have the focus frame. So if now I move it, I just move the focus frame around, but I'm actually not changing any of my settings. Obviously, still, if I work on the pack, I can choose as well the light on the pack, and this is again indicated on the lamp head. Quite straightforward. Test button, obviously, as explained, it fires this light only, not all the other ones connected. Now it's getting smaller and smaller. I hope you can see it. So here it says optimum. So this is the flash mode. It's optimum, tier 1 optimum. And if I can, let's say, I can go for a -100 Kelvin shift. It's going to be a little bit more reddish, -200, -300, and then we reach the HSS. So HSS is a very long flash duration. We keep the voltage lower to be able to extend the flash duration. The minimum power on HSS is limited. We cannot go all the way down to 2. But most of the time, anyway, this doesn't make any sense because with HSS, we have a very short shutter speed on the camera. So most of the time, I use very high power outlet anyway, because my shutter is cutting off a lot. And we are now, the minimum power is 7.5. So this is 4.5 f-stops below full power. So I guess, personally, I will never end up there because when I use HSS, there's a lot of sunlight around. I use a short shutter speed on the camera, so there's no application why I should additionally work with very, very low power settings. So this is actually not a limitation. All right, so switch back to this camera. Nope. Focus frame goes to HSS, I switch it on, and then I go back to optimum. And if I go in the other direction, it is +100 and so on. We reach the speed, which is in the end nothing else than a +300 Kelvin shift, but it just makes the entire system a little faster. Then we have +400, +800, and then sooner or later, depending on the power chosen here, we reach let's say here I can have a +800 Kelvin, and then I reach TO1 minimum, which is the shortest possible flash duration. Okay, so we actually packed these two things together in one feature. Earlier we had the possibility to control the color temperature, and this had an effect on the flash duration, or you could change the flash duration and this had an effect on the color temperature. But these two are married. Okay, they have a very good time together, so you can't modify them apart. So that's now we pack them together and just to make things more easier, and it's all in the same menu, changing the flash duration and changing the color temperature at the same time, very clearly, very transparent, communicated. Right. Okay, so then we have to go to the menu. Again, I change the focus frame, go to the menu, what's in there. So we first have the timing. So everything which has to do something with the timing, which is the delay, sequence, interval, alternate, status of alternate, all these timing things are packed together in this menu point timing here. As well, in order to make it, to avoid submenus and submenus and submenus, we just try to have on the Satos, we try to have one display with all the functions available on a first view. And here we wanted to have the same. Obviously, we don't have such a big display, so that's why we packed all the timing things together in one menu point just to keep the overview as clean as possible. All right, what else? Focus frame up to menu. So we have seen the timing, cognition lights on. So these two, you can see it actually, it's a little bright here, but you can see it on my finger now that it's blue. If we change the lamp address, it will change the color, of course. That's why it comes just as next, the lamp address. I can, of course, change this on the power pack, but it makes probably more sense to do it directly here. Display is on auto, which means if the lamp head is rotated, then the display rotates as well. So let's say if you have a ceiling system on your camera in your studio and the lamp is hanging down from the ceiling, the display will be upside down. It's up the wrong direction. It's on flash mode. If I would like to go into continuous light mode, if I choose this and I go back, and now you see as well that the focus frame is actually in green. I hope, yeah, you can see this quite nicely like this now. Again, to communicate very clearly that this light is not going to flash even when you synchronize it. And then, of course, down here, I have direct access to the color temperature in Kelvin and to the green magenta shift. Okay, and the power is indicated in percentages, all the way up to, obviously, 100%. Going back to focus frame, going back to menu, and yeah, that's pretty much it. We're here in continuous light mode. I go back to flash mode, going back to green. And what else is there? Info. Okay, so basically just the version, firmware version, and so on, more service-related stuff. Right. Okay. This was the overview about the Pulso L lamp head, and now, as promised, just a quick word about compatibility. So here on the small Satos, on the 1600, I have connected actually a Pulso G lamp head. So again, we have two possible situations. You want to have older lamp heads, special lamp heads, pico light, ring flash, strip light, light stick, and so on and so on. All these beautiful, let's call them toys, can perfectly work with a Satos. Even all the functions, these per channel controls are accessible. One limitation is still there, and this is regarding the modeling light. The modeling light is only working on the older lamp heads if Satos is connected to mains. Okay. Because the older lamp heads, they need 230 volts for the ventilation and for the modeling light, and the batteries can't provide this. However, if you connect the Satos to the mains, let's say as well, in order to charge or to keep the battery charge high all the time, the power that's needed by the modeling light and by the fan of the old lamp heads is directly getting the energy from the main, so it's not even draining the batteries. And that's really a cool feature. There's like a shortcut from the energy, that the energy for the old lamp heads is not even going through the batteries. It's just feeding the modeling light and the ventilation directly from the mains. If you disconnect it, let's say if you make a battery shooting outside, you have two batteries only, no main cable, you can still use all your lamp heads, but without modeling light. And if you're really going for a crazy shooting, a lot of flash energy in no time, the batteries can do this, but as the ventilation in your lamp head is not working, it might overheat your lamp head sooner or later. So just have a look at the heat behavior of your lamp heads if you work on a very high pace, very high power, only from battery. But everything is 100% compatible, so that's very nice. The other side, the question was as well in this direction, can we use the new lamp head with all the cool features on an older power pack? Yes, you can, but without modeling light. Again, the modeling light and the ventilation have just a different voltage level, so that's why it's not compatible from this side, from this point of view. And of course, the bidirectional communication doesn't work because the Scorer or other power packs are just not equipped for this. So I would say that all the benefits from the Pulso L lamp head are unfortunately not working on all the power packs. So that's why we do not recommend this kind of backwards compatibility. However, new power pack, new Satos and old lamp heads, yes, works. The other way around works as well, but with too many limitations in my eyes. Right. Okay, good. Let me check. I think this was all I wanted to mention about this. So we still owe you a lot of numbers, and that's Axel taking care of.
Yeah, thank you, Urs. Okay, that's the right slide. So actually we have reached the last 3 slides, so you're almost there. And please write your questions in the chat. Okay, I'm not going to cover all of these numbers here. You can read much faster than I can read them loud. Just wanted to focus here on, as a reminder, the Pulso L lamp is available as a 1600 joule version or 3200 joule version, and the modding light is always 90 watt typical. The weight is 3.5 kilograms. You see there also the pound information and the cable length, item number, and the pricing information. Okay, then some Satos specific numbers here. For both variants, like the 1600 and the 3200 version, it's the same flash duration T01 optimal. So on highest flash energy, it's just 1/100th of a second. And on minimum flash energy, it's 1/5050 seconds of a second. And then don't forget, you have also the T01 minimum setting, and that's to freeze action. You know, it's like 1/27,000th of a second. So that's very, very short. Okay, then you see the recycling here again. It's the same for both units if they are equipped like equally, like 2 power supplies and 2 batteries, respectively 1 battery and 1 power supply. So it's 2.4 seconds. And don't forget, you can go half a second faster, like you can reach 1.9 seconds with batteries only. So that's what we covered earlier. So the batteries really give this kind of boost. Okay, then you see the weight and the pricing information here, our Swiss pricing recommendation. Okay. And then to round it off here, a couple of numbers about the battery and power supply. And the Satos 1600, you can get from 2 batteries, 480 full power flashes. And then for its larger brother, the 3200, it's also 480 flashes. And you might wonder, how is it possible? No, well, it's double the flash energy, but you also have double the amount of battery. So it's equal, 480. And then the recharging time from empty is just 60 minutes. And there you have the weight information, battery specs, and the pricing. And I just want to highlight that the battery with the 92 watt hours, it's allowed as carry-on luggage on an airplane. So this might be of relevance to you. Okay, and now we are happy to answer your questions. Let's switch the camera. And welcome back, Urs, to the stage. Okay, thanks. And I've written down 3 earlier questions. So okay, if you like, yeah, I can answer them. Okay, so one question was, is the display scratch resistant? So the glass is specially tempered and therefore very scratch resistant. And in addition, we also did a standardized steel ball drop test, and repeatedly, and it passed perfectly. So don't be afraid of the glass. The cover glass is extremely durable. And then the same person asked, is it also weather resistant? And there is no official IP rating. And just keep in mind, you know, the lamp sockets, and then we have here all those venting slits or ventilation openings, and therefore it cannot be used in rain without protection. So just keep that in mind for safety reasons and, of course, to protect the device itself. Then one more question was, is it anti-glare? And we tested it thoroughly from various angles, various distances, and the readability is very good even in bright conditions. So this was at the start of the project. We were very much aware of this. Yeah, very good question. And then, does it come with any batteries? So on our website, on the Satos page, you will see that we offer maximum flexibility here again. So there's a choice of Satos 1600 or 3200 unequipped or bare. That means you just get the device and then you add to your order the required amount of slide-in power supplies or slide-in batteries. And to make it a little bit more convenient, we have also started to display there on the page pre-configurations. So you can order with one item number a Satos 1600 with one battery and one power supply, or Satos 3200 with two batteries and two power supplies. Are there any other questions?
Yes, there are other questions, but I'm not really of any help for you, Axel, because we have to answer this together. Can power level be displayed in joules? I was just checking and I couldn't do it. I think it's planned, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
We will deliver it with the upcoming firmware update.
Okay, good. I know that we talked about it, but I just couldn't do it, so I can't show it. But yes, you will be able to, let's say, continuous light mode will be able to be seen in percentages and in f-stops, and the flash power as well in joules and in broncolor f-stops to 13 or 12, depending on the power pack. Right. Okay, so yes, this was the other one. Is there anything more coming? We just give it a couple of more seconds. Yep, there's something. What is the maximum weather temperature in work? Can it reach 50 to 55 Celsius? We had the launch in Far East with the Satos, and this happened in Bangkok in Thailand, and I took the chance. It was really hot. We had the temperature was felt like 41 degrees. I additionally put Satos in the sun, so everyone, the assistant, Satos and me, we were melting, but we really got all the photographs. We were, as I said, in 40 plus degrees. The question is about 55 degrees. I think it's the limit on 45. 40, okay. So we have on the data sheet, it says from minus 10 degrees all the way up to plus 40 degrees. And I mean, above this, you just have to take care that you put it in the shadow. I really didn't do this in Thailand when we had more than 40 degrees. It did work properly. I had 2.5 hours shooting in the sun in the mid-daylight in Bangkok. And after about 2.5 hours of shooting, I was still on 73% power. I was using the small one with 2 batteries. I still had 73% battery charge left. And yeah, it worked really fine. But officially, it's all the way up to 40 degrees. All right, so the window with the question is empty, which means hopefully we covered most of your questions about it. However, if there is something else that you would like to ask, just use the normal channels, use social media or info@broncolor.swiss, and we will be very happy to answer your questions. Or as well, of course, depending where you are, hopefully you have a local distributor in your country, and just ask them to answer all your questions about the Satos, maybe even to give you a demo about it, because we actually already started shipping all the demo units worldwide. So make sure you get the information. We make sure that we get some information as well. And we will have a questionnaire just when we finish the session now. A questionnaire will be sent out to all you. So please just take, I think it takes 1 or 2 minutes to answer your question, to answer our questions. So probably some feedback about the product, but as well some feedback about this kind of webinar. In the meantime, there was one more question. What is the reason advantage to mount 2 power supply? Okay, in the Satos 302 version. The power supplies, they have the chance to provide the energy, let's say, to charge the batteries and as well to feed the modeling light of the Pulso L lamp heads. Again, the modeling light of the older lamp heads like Pulso G Unilight is fed directly from mains, but when you use the Pulso L lamp head, actually it takes the battery out of the power pack. So if you work with modeling light and you would like to have a constant recharge of the batteries, it's very recommendable that you actually have two power supplies, because then, to make it simple, of course, there's a lot more engineering happening inside, but to make it simple, one power supply unit takes care on the modeling light. I mean, with 3 lights, we still have 3 times 90 watts, so we have close to 300 watts that we have to supply for the modeling lights, and we have another power supply that can take care on the charge of the batteries. So that this would be the advantage of having more than one power supply inserted in the power pack. So now it's really empty. I think all the closing words were spoken. Thank you very much, Axel, for joining us today. Thanks you guys, and yeah, enjoy these beautiful toys. All the best. Bye. Ciao.